Thank you, thank you. About these props. I went to college with Hal Holbrook. In fact, I played for the baptism of Hal and Ruby's daughter. And Hal now does and has done for decades, as we know, the Mark Twain Show. And so Hal has a stool and he has a reading desk, because apparently Sam Clemens, when he was playing Mark Twain, used a reading desk. So once again, thank you. I would like to thank the crew who has put together this incredible event. And I would like to thank the fabulous presenters, and I would like to thank you, fabulous attendees. You who have been here all day and have endured to the end will be ready to party. I now have to digress. As some of us know, I belong to a devalued, discredited, despised constituency. We experience harassment, we experience discrimination, and we experience assault. Because I grew up in Ohio. Now, the mantra is, of course, nothing good can come out of Ohio. I'd like to challenge that. I have been governed by rules all my life, rules and mantras and policies and paradigms. When I was talking with our fabulous coach, Tom Crawford, I said, "What is the dress code for today?" And Tom said, "The rule is wear what you want." So that rule I can follow. Rules throughout my life that I have found unhealthy and unjust, I have challenged. And so today I'm inviting all of us to consider the rules, the policies, the paradigms, the mantras under which we live that are intended to govern our feelings, our thinking, and our behavior, to challenge those rules. And one by one, when we discover that a particular rule is unhealthy or unjust, then think about the pros and cons of obeying it, or ignoring it, or transgressing it. When I was a kid, I was told, as I expect many of us have been told, follow the rules. I want to challenge that particular mantra and transform it into learn the rules, learn the written rules and the unwritten rules, because the unwritten ones are often more important than the written ones. And then decide to what degree we will follow the written and the unwritten rules. When I was a kid in Ohio on a farm at night for light, we had candles and kerosene lamps. Now that may sound strange when I say that my dad worked for Edison. My dad and two of his buddies got hired by Thomas Edison to work in the Menlo Park lab right after they finished engine school. Being new hires, they were not aware of Edison's unwritten rules. Well, one day, Edison goes up to his house for lunch, and one guy is at the far end of the lab. Come down here. So my dad and the other guy trotted down. See this apparatus? Yeah, what about it? When he goes home tonight, we can cook up some homebrew. Yes. So Edison goes up to his house that evening. Good night, see you tomorrow. And the three guys begin cooking up the homebrew. Well, we know what happened. They were transgressing the unwritten rules. Edison was a teetotaler, Rule 1. No drinking alcohol in his lab, Rule 2. He was his own security force, Rule 3. And that night he came down about 11 o'clock, and here are the three guys cooking up the homebrew. What are you doing? They confessed. Out the door. So my dad lost his job. He had big problems finding another one, and that is why when I was a kid on our farm in Ohio, for light at night, we had candles and kerosene lamps. And on that farm, there was laid out to us another rule. We never discuss sex or politics or religion at the dinner table because that leads to nothing but arguments. Well, about sex and politics and religion. For me, those are not separate entities. They're intertwined, they're interconnected. Bring up one, the other two inevitably follow. For example, the politics of human sexuality, the sexuality of politics, the religion and politics and sexuality of football. And so instead of saying sex, politics, and religion, I say sex, politics, religion. Put them all together. Now, must we have arguments when we discuss that particular entity? There is a way of attempting to have a friendly conversation, and that method is called peacemaking dialogue. It was created by a friend of mine in the American Friends Service Committee, the AFSC. What philosophy is peacemaking dialogue based on? On Mahatma Gandhi's policy of ahimsa. I will not harm you. You are safe with me. I respect your human worth and your dignity. So how does that method work? First, we listen. Second, we affirm. And third, we respond. And what does that mean? If someone who disagrees with us says so directly to us, they may say it in an attacking way. Whatever they say, we listen to them with our entire being, with our senses, with our mind, and with our spirit. And then we attempt to affirm the speaker in their human worth and dignity, and that is essential. Without the affirmation, they are very likely not even to hear what our response is. And after we've attempted to affirm them, then we offer an answer, a response. And what are we listening for as we listen? The speaker's feelings, values, and life experience to the degree that we can, in a split second, try to discern what they are. And so, let me offer an example. I was on a panel in a psychology class. We were discussing sexual orientation. Homosexuality, bisexuality, heterosexuality, asexuality, that is, being attracted to nobody. And during the Q&A period, a student said, without holding up his hand, "Excuse my French, you're a faggot and you're going to hell." Now, I could have said, "Thank you, I'll see you there." Instead, I tried to use the method of peacemaking dialogue. I listened. What am I discerning here? This person sounds angry. I can't relate to that. He certainly sounds homophobic. That's not my values. Maybe I can relate to him through what I expect might be our shared life experience. So I said, first, to attempt to affirm him, thank you, I sincerely thank you for bringing up that issue. I do not know of a more serious topic. That's what I said, and I meant it in an attempt to affirm him. And then I said, you know, out of my own life experience, I think that none of us likes to be brought to trial and tried and judged guilty and sentenced and punished through an assault on our human worth and dignity. And I am glad to be able to say that through the decades I have been able to reconcile my sexual orientation with my faith. And the student said nothing more. So hinging back to sex, politics, religion, I think we'd be further ahead if we shifted that paradigm and said, love, justice, faith. Love, tough love for ourselves, unconditional, positive regard for others. Justice, human and civil rights and liberties for everybody. Faith, trust in our own basic goodness and the basic goodness of our sisters and brothers in the human family. And so I've talked about mantras and policies and rules and laws and shifting paradigms. I've invited everyone to consider shifting paradigms when a particular law, policy, mantra appears to be, and may well be, harmful and unjust. Now, to be true to myself and true to you, I invite you to challenge everything you've heard me say here today. And in closing, I could immediately say Ave atque vale, which, as we know, is Latin for hail and farewell. I want to shift that paradigm and think about that mantra in another way. Ave, hail, H-A-I-L. Let's spell that H-A-L-E. Hail, whole, well. And vale, farewell. Let's separate farewell into its two constituent parts. Live a healthy life. Live a whole life. Live a good life. And so I now will say, Ave atque vale, hail and farewell. Namaste, walk in sunshine.